focused on Victorians. I'm focused on getting more Victorians into a home. I'm focused on heading off very shortly to a really important National Cabinet meeting where we are working through as a nation the consequence of the ongoing conflict and crisis around Iran. And I'm focused on these things because this is what's worrying families and households. This is what's worrying families and households right now. Families and household budgets that are under pressure. They've seen interest rate rises go up this week. They're worried about how do they pay their fuel bill, their grocery bill, their energy bill. And that's what I'm focused on, and not anonymous gossip. Not anonymous gossip that could be from a few scallywags out there that might need a bit of a cuddle. I'm focused on those working people and Victorians, because this is a really challenging and difficult global time. And it comes at a time where cost of living pressures continue to take a grip on household budgets, which is why my Labor team, and we are a strong team and we are a united team, what we're focused on, based particularly on the discussions we have with people right across the community, is how do we make life easier for those Victorians? How do we help save those Victorians time and money? That's what I'm focused on every single day, not some of this anonymous gossip.
Is it concerning, though, that it's coming from within your own caucus?
Oh, look, it could. There's, as I said to the earlier question, this is anonymous gossip. It's from a few scallywags, and I'm much more focused on the important matters that are important to the Victorian community right now. We're at a time where the global economy is under huge pressure. But what that means is it means household budgets are under more pressure than ever before, which is why...
When your own party is plotting to remove you before the next election, the standard political playbook says you project strength, confidence and unity. What it does not say, and what no political strategist on earth would recommend, is that you call your rebelling colleagues scallywags who need a bit of a cuddle. And yet that is precisely what Victorian Premier Jacinta Allan said to a room full of journalists this week, apparently with a straight face. Scallywags. In 2025. From a sitting premier. You truly cannot make this up. Hit that subscribe button and smash the notifications bell, because at the Australian Mind we find the stories that are equal parts alarming and absolutely unbelievable. Now, let us set the scene properly, because the chaos unfolding inside Victorian Labor right now is something else entirely. MPs from across the factional divide are actively discussing removing Allan before the November state election, not whispering about it at the back of the room, discussing it. The fear inside caucus is that she has become an anchor on the party's vote, dragging Labor toward an electoral catastrophe that nobody wants to be standing near when it hits the ocean floor. Allan's response to all of this? Dismiss it as anonymous gossip. Insist she has a strong, united Labor team, and of course, deploy the word scallywags. The Prime Minister of a state government facing a potential leadership spill from within her own ranks shows the vocabulary of a disappointed primary school teacher. That tells you something about the political instincts currently steering the ship in Spring Street. But here is the thing about dismissing concerns as gossip. The polling is not gossip, the numbers are not gossip, and the numbers for Jacinta Allan are genuinely brutal. A Demos AU poll published recently found she carries a net approval rating of -37%. -37. That is not just the lowest of any sitting premier in Victoria, it is the lowest of any premier anywhere in the country. Just 16% of Victorians view her positively, 53% view her negatively, and Labor's primary vote has collapsed to 28%, down from 36.6% at the 2022 election. That is not an anchor. That is a premier who has somehow managed to shed nearly a third of the party's primary support in under 3 years. So who exactly is doing the plotting, and who might replace her? This is where Victorian Labour's famous factional warfare gets genuinely interesting. The Socialist Left faction controls 39 of the 69 seats in the caucus and has held party leadership continuously since 2010. Allan sits within that faction, and yet senior figures from her own Socialist Left are among those considering a move against her. When your own faction is eyeing the exits, the strong united team line starts to sound less like a statement of fact and more like a wish. The majority of the left would likely back Transport Infrastructure Minister Gabrielle Williams as a replacement, but some left MPs are reportedly open to crossing the floor, factionally speaking, and backing Deputy Premier Ben Carroll, who sits in the right. The fact that right-left cooperation is even on the table tells you everything about how desperate the situation has become. In Victorian Labor, factional unity is basically a religion. When people start questioning the religion, the congregation is well and truly rattled. And underneath all of this sits the CFMEU corruption scandal, the story that refuses to go away, no matter how hard Allan tries to wish it into irrelevance. The scandal centers on claims that Allan was warned about the rogue union's behavior during her time as Infrastructure and Transport Minister, and that the Victorian Labor government looked the other way while the CFMEU's grip on big-build construction sites resulted in an estimated $15 billion of taxpayer funds flowing into the hands of criminals. $15 billion. Allan has consistently dismissed that figure, while simultaneously refusing to commission any independent investigation into how much was actually lost. The logic there is something to behold. She has also knocked back calls for a royal commission, framing it as a coalition attack on workers' rights. The slight problem with that framing is that among those calling for a royal commission is the former head of Victoria's own independent anti-corruption watchdog. That is not exactly a partisan attack. That is the state's own integrity establishment saying something has gone badly wrong and needs proper scrutiny. Allan says she referred every allegation to the relevant authorities whenever it was raised with her. Victorians apparently are not convinced. Scallywags and cuddles won't fix a negative 37 net approval rating. November is coming. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate every one of you.